Hello, my name is Lady Jast. Do you know why President Mahama looked at Kwabena Dufo and said, then looked at Ewuadako and said, and finally chose Naana Jane? I'll be right back to tell you more. This is Truth in Politics. In May 2018, we know that the then former Vice President of Ghana, His Excellency Kwesi Amissah-Arthur, complained in a telephone conversation with a confidant that we all know who was used to relegate me to the background. I don't need to mention a name for you to decipher who it was, but you're quite aware whom I'm referring to, right? As a matter of fact, he said I was made redundant. 1 month later, he unfortunately passed on, but not until he had let the cat out of the bag on what the whole country knew, that as a vice president, he had been relegated to irrelevance. In his place, the First Lady Lordina Mahama virtually assumed the role of her husband's vice, and no one dared ask her any questions. So after John Mahama won the NDC presidential primaries and got ready to run again for the presidency that he lost while in power, the issue of who would become his running mate became an interesting soap opera. Some big names withdrew their names from consideration, fearing that if Mahama cannot control his wife, they were not interested in suffering the same fate as the late Kwesi Amissah-Arthur. But then, there are those who believe that the stature within the party are solid enough that Madame Lordina Mahama would not be able to muscle them around. So in the end, it came down to 3 finalists, and that is where it gets really interesting. To begin with, I want you to remember this video.
You mean as president?
As John Mahama.
As a human being?
As a person.
Any human being in the world would have encountered, corruption in a way, one way or the other, either being offered a bribe or a bribe being demanded from you. What you need to do is to put yourself in a position...
Mr. President, did you take it?
No, I haven't taken a bribe.
Then there is also the Ford expedition from a businessman from Burkina Faso. Interestingly, that's where they are confirmed, Then there's Suba. Then there's Airbus bribery case. Then the Embraer airplane due. And the list goes on and on and on. Government official 1. Salute. In fact, the corruption under the Mahama administration was so overwhelming that Ghanaians in 2016 said enough is enough and voted him out, with the largest margin of victory against an incumbent in our nation's history. So let us look at the 3 finalists that John Mahama considered. First, there's Dr. Kwabena Dufo. Need I say more? Of all the officials in the past NDC administrations, he became more than anyone the poster boy for corruption. In fact, according to the Daily Graphic of February 5th, 2020, the Attorney General accused Dr. Dufo, who was also a shareholder of Unibank, of using the Hoda Group to take money from the bank and dishonestly transfer the money which was depositors' funds. It is the case of the Attorney General that Dr. Dufo and the Hoda Group, allegedly dishonestly received more than 660 million from Unibank. His bank, Unibank, subsequently did not survive the bank cleanup exercise and was closed down. Mahama rightfully feared that with the nation already believing that he, as the candidate, is corrupt, the last thing he wanted was to add another person with a corrupt tag to his ticket. That would doom his candidacy before it even began. Not even calls from some very powerful traditional leaders could convince Mahama to reconsider Kwabena Dufo. The next person was Kwame Ewuadako, the former managing director of BOST, or Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation. Here too, corruption loomed, right? We will never know why Mr. Ewadaku flew out of the country as soon as the President Mahama lost the election of 2016, but we know that he was reportedly gone for 2 years. He returned in 2019 and immediately turned himself into Yoko because the latter had declared him a wanted man. Let me repeat, a man once wanted by Yoko for corruption allegation was a finalist for Mahama's choice for running mate. Now, I know Yoko is a government organization that is charged to investigate economic and organized crime in this country, and I know they would not slap the tag of wanted man on anyone without cause, right? The allegations against Mr. Ewadaku while he was at Bust are too numerous to count, and I won't go into them because these are matters that are yet to be proven in court. But what we do know is that as recently as literally hours before President Mahama formally announced Naana Jane Opoku-Agyeman as his running mate, Mr. Ewadaku was still pushing hard to be selected and even allegedly went as far as promising to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars to help with the campaign if he was chosen. A good bidder. I wonder where he got all that money from. Anyway, here again, Mahama was not having it. If I cannot answer a simple question as to whether I have accepted a bribe or not, why would I select a wanted man for a running mate? Beside their checkered past, what these two potential running mates each represented was a clear and present danger to Lordina Mahama, the real vice president in waiting should Mahama become the president. These two are so highly placed within the NDC party that they would not play second fiddle to any first lady. So in the end, a lowly Naana Jane was a safe choice. She would be no match for Lordina to run over, and she, thus far, has not been embroiled in any financial malfeasance that we know of, except that according to her successor at Ministry of Education, she's absolutely the worst person to have sat on the seat of the Minister of Education. In short, what Naana Jane lacks in baggage in the corruption department, she more than makes up in the incompetence department. When she reigned as the Minister of Education, these are what happened. Teachers were paid 3 months arrears for 3 years of work, sometimes more than that and sometimes less than that. Yearly incremental jump in salary scales of teachers was also wickedly cancelled. Allowance of trainee teachers was cancelled at a time when they were paying only 9,000 beneficiaries, claiming it was a huge burden on government's purse. Today, the MPP has reintroduced the teacher training allowances and are paying around 46,000 students. Research and book allowances of our hard work lecturers were cancelled, which the MPP has restored. There were no teaching and learning materials in our schools. Ghanaians were insulted for even asking for a common chalk. Remember the "Ye mamu chalk and net, ye mamu chalk or china saga." No. She was by the side of Mr. John Mahama when he promised to build 200 community day SHSs, which are nowhere to be found. She was again by the side of Mr. John Mahama when they failed to deliver on their promise of building 10 colleges of education. She froze employment in the education sector. She has recently advised John Mahama to cancel the licensure examination for teachers when, God forbid, they come to power. Any rational person wouldn't do that because professionalism is anchored on licensing. During her tenure as the Minister of Education, the funding for the progressively free SHS school feeding program, capitation grant, were all in arrears. She presided over the near collapse of the scholarship secretariat. Students on the foreign scholarships were always complaining because their fees and other allowances were always in arrears. All these anomalies have since been corrected by the NPP. We can only conclude that the choice of Professor Jane Naana Opoku-Agyeman by Mr. John Dramani Mahama It's a clear indication that he intends to roll back all the gains that the nation has made under President Nana Addo's free SHS. So in the end, Mahama avoided a highly corrupt 2020 ticket and embraced a highly incompetent ticket. Talk about pick your poison. But why would Mahama select such an incompetent person as a running mate? Remember the 2012 presidential debate where, as one of the moderators, Professor Naana Pokwajiman was accused of leaking the questions to the then President Mahama? Could this be Mahama's continued reward to Naana Jane? Think about that. I'm all for women's empowerment, but if we're going to choose a woman, it should be one who will represent us well and not embarrass us. Please be sure to visit our social media handles, like and subscribe to all our pages. Don't forget to stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, observe all COVID-19 protocols, stay safe, your lives matter. My name is Lady Jast. This is Truth in Politics.